Hi, it's Mark Lowry from TheaterJones, and today I am with the three major folks over at Kitchen Dog Theater. We have Tina Parker and Christopher Carlos, who are the co-artistic directors, and Tim Johnson, who is the managing director. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Oh,
So we have a lot to talk about, but I do want to start off with talking about, first of all, this is your 30th season coming up, and you've announced an outdoor drive-in show, and we don't know what's going to happen yet with the rest of the season for anyone because of the shutdowns. Uh, but Chris, tell me real quick about, I know you guys have moved into your new home that you bought 4 years ago, and it still has renovation to do, and you're doing your drive-in performance show in that parking lot. But tell us just the status of that and what your plans are going forward as far as the renovation goes, and what your hopes are for having it ready for indoor performance, which might be around the time when we can actually do an indoor performance.
Yeah, well, I'm not really sure when the space will be ready for indoor performances. Right now, it's just a big warehouse and some offices spaces and rehearsal space. We moved in. We moved our offices over the summer, and are still, situating everything that we have. All of our storage and everything went over to our space. And actually, Tim has some really exciting news, because we did start buying the building a few years ago, but we just finished paying for it, so it's ours now for reals.
Nice, congratulations.
You want to
That's
tell
the
them a little bit
full,
about that?
that's the full loan.
Yes.
yeah. We had a bridge loan from the real estate council, so we paid half in cash and half with the bridge loan. And as of 9 a.m. this morning, we are now paid off, so we are debt free again.
Woo!
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
And obviously there are going to be costs involved with the renovation and so forth. What are things in that area just on hold because of COVID?
Yeah, basically, we had two significant foundation gifts sort of in the hopper. Both of them had invited us to apply, and both were progressing along, and then COVID happened. And both of those organizations sort of reprioritized their giving away from the arts and towards addressing the crisis. So they're both sort of, they both come back and said they'll be considered once the crisis is over. So we're still pursuing donors and keeping contact and doing all of that work, but I'm not banking on any big gift coming in while the crisis is going on. So it's sort of an unknown timeline right now.
Okay, so we'll talk about Get Up, Stand Up, which is the drive-in show, in a little bit, but Tina, can you tell us anything at this point about what you're thinking for the season after that?
Sure, we actually do. We do have a plan in place for both the season events as well as some fun pop-ups, kind of peppered out pop-up special events, kind of things celebrating our 30th anniversary all throughout the year. I think, we jokingly have called this season, as I'm sure most leaders have, the subject to change season. Because it's like asterisk, contingency, contingency on contingency. But I think what's cool about our upcoming season is that I feel like it's really, we're really responding to not only celebrating being 30 years old, which is, I was going to jokingly show all the rings on my neck, but also responding to the present moment that we're in, just everything that's happening in our crazy world. And I'm proud to say that the upcoming season will feature all playwrights of color. How we're going to present we have two main stage shows, how they're presented, in what format, whether it's a filmed theatrical experience or live or a hybrid of both or all Zoom all the time. And it really is going to depend on what is dictated by pandemic. I mean, is it call in and hear Chris read me the play? Who knows?
I hope not.
That is, Chris is like, please no, Lord. Nothing off the table.
Make sure your phone bill is paid.
Yeah, exactly. We were really proud of that fact that we've, in the entire season, including new works, which we you'll get the scoop, I guess, because we're hoping to announce the full lineup this week.
Oh, great.
But we pivoted our New Works stage reading series into actually what's going to be called the New Works in the Works commission series. And we're going to commission 4 writers of color to kind of respond to this present moment that we're in, and also be thinking, since we're not able to be in a space with like a traditional space, like kind of crafting whatever play they want to work on it. And it can be an existing play, but it can also be something brand new created. Like I was saying, like maybe it's a phone play, maybe it's a drive-by play, maybe it's we come to people's porches, like who knows? The possibilities are really endless, and for me, that's really exciting.
I think, is a drive-by play different from a drive-in play?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, it's strange. I've talked to so many different people about different ideas, and one of them was like people were performing, like taking a play and performing on people's like little communities' porches.
Sort of like, have you seen what Aurora is currently doing with the in the parking garage in downtown Dallas?
I haven't been yet, but
so Aurora was the light show thing they've been doing, and they're doing it in a parking garage, so you could drive up the levels and see the different installations. Like Daniel Giorgio has a piece in there and everything. So I think the possibility, I think I heard that like one choral group somewhere, because choral music is obviously a really dangerous art to perform right now because of how they normally stand and they sing, is doing something similar, like in a parking garage where you drive by and hear people singing.
Well, there's all sorts of things with the drive-by. I mean, like there's drive-bys, there's promenade, there's go to a different location and see, you know, I don't know. There's so many possibilities that this program really is just like, what can you come up with? How can we support you? And that commission, normally there's 6 readings. This time there's going to be 4 commissions, and we're going to, from January to June, myself, Chris, and our NNPN producer in residence, Haley Nelson, who's also an LMDA dramaturg, we're all going to be kind of hands-on with these 4 playwrights as we develop this work. So it's kind of it's a pilot year, and it's something that our hope is that will continue in the New Works Festival in some shape or form. So that's exciting. And also Pup Fest, which we co-produce with Junior Players and Dallas ISD through our DPAC partnership. It celebrates 20 years this year. So it's another anniversary for that, which is cool. And it's full tilt virtual. So we're going to teach classes to all the area high schools, playwriting instruction, as well as there's a DPAC festival that normally takes place in May in person, but we're kind of working with the teachers on how to pivot these new works that the students create and direct and act in to a digital format. And then we did this past year make Pup Fest fully virtual, so it's kind of continuing that momentum we started with that project. So kind of excited, 20 years for that. So yeah, anniversaries across the board.
I think one thing, you know, that's kind of interesting about theater makers and arts makers getting used to this digital world is initially, when, you know, back in March when we were saying, oh, we're going to be back in theaters in 2 weeks or a month or whatever, they kind of thought, oh, we could do a Zoom reading and that's it. Now that we've seen it progress, I'm seeing around the country and here also, people are getting really innovative about the kind of online work they're doing. As you would expect, you're artists, you're innovative, right? I mean, have you been thinking of ways to, you know, to keep the art form innovative and strong, like Kitchen Dog has always been known for, and keep the audience engaged and not do something that's of the norm? Or are you still just sort of, we're waiting to see what happens?
I would say, I don't know, I'll speak for myself, but it seems like a mix of all of it. I mean, I think the thing that's important, like the thing that when I look at theater, one of the things that really is what gets me going is like, is that live interaction. And so that's when we were talking about, and Tim can talk more to this, but when we were talking about Get Up, Stand Up, it's, you know, that sense of being with other people, even kind of alone together, where it's the drive-in experience, but having a live performer and having that energy of a live performance was important. Like we could have done it where we recorded it on Zoom or put them in an isolated chunk, but there's something about, and especially as we ramp up towards this election and people feeling isolated, it was that thing of like, we need what the theater creates, which is empathy and energy of people being together. And I felt like, you know, this was an event that kind of would give a little semblance like there's something live that's happening in front of me that can't be recorded or altered or, or tweaked up with some glitter or put on a virtual background. No, it's the back of our wall and there's lights and things could go wrong and somebody could go off key or whatever, or, who knows? But I'm looking around and there's people laughing and responding next to me. There's energy happening in front of me. So it was kind of, while I do love some of the digital things, and we've done our fair share of digital readings and things like that, and we'll continue to do some digital things, looking for more of that, to me is the essential core of theater, trying to find events that can either replicate or have that element, I think is important, because I don't know, I sometimes feel super isolated watching stuff by myself. Like I want to be to where I can at least hear somebody laughing or whatever, or see, I think that's important. What do you guys, I'll open it to you guys, sorry.
Yeah, Tim, tell me about the idea for this show. The full title is Get Up, Stand Up, a drive-in celebration of democracy. And the idea is, from what I'm getting, is that you're going to have various artists on each of the nights. It's 3 Saturday nights in a row and then election night. And you're going to have different performances at the first 3. And it's going to be cabaret style. They can do whatever as long as it's some form of protest or patriotism or some kind of song about democracy
or anti-patriotism, depending on who the performer is.
Right. I'm imagining Tim in one of those those big giant plastic balls you get in and roll around in, and it's like a COVID cell, and he knocks over a Trump-like character.
I love that idea. Yes. I think that's all it should be. Well, as I've been thinking about the moment and what's going on, I'm really interested in finding new ways to present live theater, and what does that mean when we can't be in a space together, which, as of today, just got further confirmed by the CDC saying that, all the stuff about droplets in the air. And so it kind of came out of me just really thinking about that. And then, to be honest, the original inspiration was Thiago, who was the pianist in Pompeii, also does a night at a coffee shop where he does open mic classical. So I've gone to see it, and it always blows me away because someone hands him sheet music and it's like Mozart, and he looks at it for 12 seconds and then he plays along. So as I was thinking about music and just stuff, him and knowing what his skill level was sort of the genesis of the idea, and the idea of wanting to be responsive to this moment and all of the turbulence and turmoil that's going on. We can't be overtly political as a theater because we're a nonprofit. So I'm just really excited with the idea. Certainly the one thing that seems to pull us all together is anger, regardless of what side of the aisle we're on right now. Everyone's pissed off. So this idea of a protest song, not specific to any specific candidate or issue, sort of allows everyone to come together and be together and also acknowledge what's actually going on in the world right now. So.
And it's happening, is the parking lot is behind this space, the new theater?
Yeah, it's actually not our lot, it's our neighbor's lot. And part of, actually when we finally open up, we have a sort of verbal agreement where we're going to repave and light the lot in exchange for use. So it's a big lot directly behind to our building, and there's a pathway that connects the two. So yeah, it's right adjacent to our new home. So people will be able to see where our future theater will be when they come to see the show too, which is a great way. I'm excited about that because it's a great way to kick off the 30th anniversary.
Yeah. Because it's in the design district, but it's sort of on the, I guess, on the north end of the design district where it's closer to like Irving Boulevard, I guess.
Yeah, Irving and just off of Inwood. So the marker everyone seems to know is the Crate and Barrel outlet.
Oh, right.
So if you know where that is, that's Lupo, and you take Lupo and it turns into Algiers, which is our street. So it's right there.
Yeah. Chris, were you one of the original Kitchen Dog founders?
No, I came in '95.
Okay, Tina, you were, right?
No.
But you're all SMU.
Some of us, no.
Nope.
I'm not. I feel like I've been through SMU's training because of all my years with Kitchen Dog, but no, I haven't.
Right.
It was originally founded by 5 MFA students out of SMU: Dan Day, Joe Nemers, Sally Nicetoon Vale, Johnny Morgan, and Andy Fitch. Tim and I did our first show with Kitchen Dog in '93, and Chris did his first show in '95, and then I joined the company in '96, and they joined in '97. So we've been with the company for, I would say, the majority of its lifetime,
Right.
or associated in some form, whether we left and came back or whatever. But no, we're not founding members.
Yeah, you were certainly with it before the Mac, right? When you were in different spaces.
Tim and I did shows with them before the Mac, yeah.
Yeah. Chris, can you tell us, for the people who don't know, tell us about the name Kitchen Dog. It comes from Beckett's Waiting for Godot, but tell us about that.
It comes from a reference in a song in the show Waiting for Godot that references a kitchen dog that sits by and kind of sees what the absurdity of the human existence and what people do to each other, and kind of deals with that. It might.
And that sort of fits in with your mission statement of the kind of work that you produce.
Absolutely.
Very scrappy.
Right. So you mentioned the National New Play Network and NPN earlier, and they're going to be working with you in the season on the new works that you're going to be developing. How can you tell us, and you are one of the founding members of an NPN. There are like 6 founding theaters, correct? And now I know it's huge.
Yeah, there were I think 14 in that original powwow, our meeting that happened in Chicago, I think it was our first meeting at Paul Theater.
Yeah.
I think it was 14. And then various people left or whatever. But we're a founding core member since the beginning. And now there's 2 tiers of membership. There's 33, I think, core members, and then double or that in associate members.
98 last time I checked.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger, yeah. An associate membership, and it's all different shape sizes, different kinds of theater.
Yeah, I mean, DFW now has
all over the country.
Yeah, DFW now has what, 2 or 3 associate members? I want to say.
Sorry, you're freezing up a little bit.
DFW has 2 or 3 or maybe 4 associate members of an NPM at this point, right?
Sorry, what?
Am I still freezing?
You're freezing up.
So there are several associate member theaters in DFW, right?
I think there's a couple. I know that Amphibian is one and Theater 3. Caramia was one for a couple of years, but I don't think they are anymore. So I think it's just the 2 of them, but I that's the only 2 I'm aware of. And then I know there's a few in Austin.
Tell me, for one, how important has that relationship been to the trajectory of Kitchen Dog as it's grown, and how are they? And they've certainly started a lot of initiatives like the rolling world premieres that theaters around the country do, and you guys have done several. And how are they supporting their theaters at this time, and as we're looking forward to what's next?
The NPN is huge. I mean, I would say it's one of the most important relationships that Kitchen Dog has. It really, if you look at their history of Kitchen Dog, just the trajectory of how many new works since our membership, because when we initially joined as a founder, we had done a few world premieres, but man, that aspect of our programming really blossomed once we joined the NPN, because all of a sudden this pipeline of new plays from around the country just kind of blew up. Our New Works Festival came up really as an outgrowth of that membership, and it's been an important part to us in many ways. A lot because of the relationships that we have with other organizations, not only as support, as support organizations, like reaching out and just talking about how people are doing things, especially in this current time, talking about all the difficulties, be it with how are you handling union contracts? How are you doing streaming? What are you announcing this fall? How are you even announcing your dates? What are you doing right now? Can I get in on that? Can we work together on this? To sharing playwrights, sharing plays, and as I know we'll talk about in a minute, but also looking at this current moment and responding to the We See What and anti-racist policies. I know that that's a big focus of the National New Play Network. And in fact, all members will be required to have anti-racist statements and action items as part of your membership. So if you think about how many members are part of that, like the fact that is an essential part of your membership is amazing.
Right.
So it's been, you know, you guys can talk, but it's been an invaluable, some of the relationships professionally and partnerships that we have engaged with specific individuals and organizations have just been incredible. And seeing like plays like Love Offering, we did a cross-pollination project and took it, me and Jonathan went to Philadelphia and worked with Interact and how that play developed. And all of a sudden he and I were like, let's do this together. And then it turned into our world premiere. So I don't know, there's just a lot of really cool stuff happening with the NNPN. So I'm very proud of that partnership.
It's definitely been a very important to us and our growth as a company, and having these relationships throughout the country that we can call upon and ask for advice or partner up with things has been invaluable. Really been great. It's a great organization.
Yeah, Tina, you mentioned it. It's a good segue to talk about We See You White American Theater and responding to the Black Lives Matter protest. I mean, Kitchen Dog, new works and newer works has mainly been your thing. You do some classics and some older plays in there. But you guys you've been pretty good, I would say, about diversity in terms of playwrights and casting, and maybe in I don't know, maybe in directing as well. But tell me how that, the Black Lives Matter protest that happened after the murder of George Floyd this year was another big watershed moment, even though, the Black Lives Matter is now 4 years old. And these are things we should have been talking about and addressing a long time ago. And then the We See You White American Theater document, and then their outline of what their demands of what they want to see, I think hit everyone profoundly. I mean, because no one can argue that is not what we need. It talked about critics, and there's a big need for critics of color, and how critics write about groups that are culturally in line with who they are, or how critics of a different color can look at a work and have the need to research and look at how they're culturally talking about a certain topic. So each of you, tell me, when you read that document, and this was coming on the heels of Black Lives Matter, how did it hit you, and was it stuff you've been thinking about, and how has it impacted what you've planned for the future since then?
I would say when I first read it, it was very impactful. I mean, I think there are certain things in the list of demands, and just reading the full document, you can look and be like, oh, well, we're good at this. And then you read a couple things, it's like, we have a lot of work to do. And I mean, everybody does. But I don't know. I went away from it, feeling, not challenge is the wrong word. I feel like I walked away from it ready to take some action and ready to, to go piece by piece and see how Kitchen Dog can do better. Because we all can do better. I think, sometimes in some of the instances I looked at it and I was like, well, it could be just formalizing some things we do have in place. Because like you said, we have, and that has been important to us as a company as far as representation on stage, representation of voices. Well, I think, the last 5 or 6 years, we've had over, 50% or more Alana artists represented on our stages, as far as playwrights and diversity in casting, directors, crew, that kind of thing. Can we do better? Absolutely. And that's something that we have to formalize and put those goals into place and hold ourselves accountable and be transparent. I think that's the key to it all, right? Is that we can all work on it in secret and be like, we're doing the work, yay. But then if you're not transparent about even your failures, to me, that's what's interesting is like, hey, I tried this and I totally whiffed. Like I failed. Here's the documentation. I think that's also important to point out, to be transparent about what you're doing and how it's going. So I to that regard, like I've done a number of anti-racist courses over the summer, both through affinity groups with the NNPN, but also I highly recommend, if people are watching, go take a course with Nicole Brewer, conscious theater training. That 2-week course is amazing. But as far as Kitchen Dog is concerned, we're putting together a company, both a company and board member committee. So like I said, I've done all of these different classes, but I'm not going to be the person who's like, here's our policy, because that it kind of goes against, in my mind, what the whole thing is about. So I want to develop this with company and board members for us to put some practices in place that we can then implement in practice through action items and accountability through the course of the season. So the goal is in the next few months to have a document ready to rock and roll with items, and then just keep revisiting it every few months and seeing where we're at. Sorry, I talked a lot.
Yeah. Tim, what was your reaction on reading the document?
Well, I think it came from two different places, because I spent a lot of time thinking about the bottom line. To be frankly, a lot of it was looking through the lens as a managing director, and with the knowledge that keeping a small theater company open is hard enough already. So I do think I had, I'll just be honest, I mean, I had pretty strong reactions to some of the stuff in it, and then I was like, how the hell do I pay for that? But I think below that, there's a lot of stuff that we can incorporate, right? And the other lens that I think came up for me was my own activism when I was young, and being really involved in AIDS activism, because I came of age when that was still killing people. And so that urgency and that sense of demand, you know, we demand that you do this, I connected with in a really kind of personal way. I felt like that resonated with me, and certainly the urgency was clearly conveyed to me. You know what I mean? So yeah, and like Tina said, I mean, I think I'm proud of Kitchen Dog as an organization, and that we've been having conversations like this. I don't believe by any means we do everything right, but we do have conversations. We've been having conversations around these issues for a long time, and we continue to evolve as an organization. So I think it's an exciting opportunity to kind of dig deeper, and it's certainly in line with what we do in our mission. You know, it's all about raising questions and looking at the issues that are sometimes difficult to look at. So that was my sort of initial take from it. Chris?
I wasn't really surprised by anything in it, you know. I was proud of acknowledging some of the stuff that we are already currently doing, and wanting to figure out how to do the rest. You know, find a way to make it all happen. We'll see. You know, we'll do the best we can in trying to meet all those demands as well as we can.
For sure. I would say Kitchen, and you're of Cuban descent, right?
I am
Yeah,
Cuban.
I would say Kitchen Dog has been especially strong in terms of the white organizations and doing Latinx work over the years. I mean, that's since I first saw you 20 years ago, that's been the case.
Yeah, we've been, you know, that's been a topic of discussion between Tina and I throughout these years of trying to make sure that at least one spot in there was Latinx, and bringing up all these issues. We've been bringing up, you know, racist issues for years now, trying to get the conversation going. So it's
as with this, the conversation has been, you know, not just what's on the stage and what playwrights you're doing, but it's looking at your board, and it's looking at your staff, and it's looking at your behind the scenes crew and all of that. And so and you guys are obviously thinking of all of that as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit? So let's go back to the new building. Chris, can you tell us a little bit about what you're thinking of in terms of the space and what it's going to look like? Are there going to be multiple performance spaces? Is it a reconfigurable black box? What will the lobby area be like?
The dream right now is to have two spaces, like a small cabaret black box, and then a large black box that's like 60 by 60 feet. That we can move the seating around whichever configuration we'd like, and kind of make it do whatever it needs to do. Very flexible space. It'll have a height of about 14 feet and be like 60 by 60, a big open area that we can do theater in.
For comparison, what was the size of the Helt Hall Theater in the MAC?
If you were to take out the fixed seating in the Helt, it's that size basically. So
Gotcha.
About the same size as that. No, not as tall, just a little bit shorter. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then a lobby and offices and hopefully a shop space and some storage, which would be awesome.
Yeah. The only show that you guys had to outright cancel was Michael and Federico and Cameron Cobb's play, right? Because you moved your New Works Festival and your Pup Fest online. So you already said that next season you're looking at doing works by artists of color. So you're still hoping to bring back that play?
Absolutely. I think it's more just kind of on hold because the thing about that play is where it was in its course of development, and it has songs in it. So obviously in the COVID times, it's not really a good one to try to even think about doing in a space with Black people because they're singing and fighting and dancing and all sorts of things. So it's like, and in our small space, like the Trinity River Arts Center, that's just not a good choice, like to have a bunch of singing and dancing and fighting.
Right.
It's just not a good idea in the current time. So versus, kind of put it in a space where you kind of compromise the work and what it's able to do, or have to really radically change the work in order to make it fit. We decided to kind of put a pause on it, dog ear it for a section. Hopefully it will show up, in the next season would be my guess. It really all depends on where everything goes. But that way the guys have more time to, like, it wasn't fully finished when COVID hit. So even some of the development work on it, like, look, especially in the second act, there were still some songs being written and things like that they just, trying to do it via Zoom just wasn't productive for these guys because of the way of their collaboration process, the way they like to work. It just seemed like the time to put it on a hold. So we're definitely going to come back to it. It's got a great start. It still needs work and time to kind of grow. So hopefully during the course of 21, when we can figure out, get some of that development regenerated and started again, and hopefully it will be in part of the following season. Is somewhere maybe in 21, maybe in 22, but somewhere in that season would be our hope.
Right.
It's definitely, it's not dead in the water for sure. It's still very much, kind of, it's there, but on pause because I don't want it to be.
Chris,
you can't sing. Can you change it and not fight and don't have people touch?
No, not gonna work.
When a whole gag is like he gets punched or whatever, it's like, well, not now, he doesn't, and you can't sing that song.
And I guess we should, Tina, tell us what the complete title of that work is. I guess we should tell our listeners that.
Oh gosh, what is it?
The history and voyages of Christopher Columbus as told by George Washington. What's it?
Irving.
It's Washington Irving.
Yeah. So it's actually I'm sad that we're not doing it in this specific moment, and that it exclusively focuses on the myth of Christopher Columbus and how that was created and why it was created, and how untrue it is. So looking forward to being able to do it soon.
Chris, I want to talk about developing local playwrights. You guys, throughout your history, you've worked and done works by a lot of local playwrights, readings and full productions. But what I haven't seen yet is one, and correct me if I'm wrong, but one breakout into the NNPN rolling world premiere model and sort of make it, you've done Jonathan, who I think is probably one of our bigger names here. And, Michael Federico, of course, has work all over the place. But what are your hopes and thoughts about, developing local playwrights so that they can also get national exposure and not just local exposure?
Well, that's always the idea, and we always pitch it to all of our brothers and sisters of the NNPN. For one reason or another, things haven't been picked up as much as we had hoped. But we do have a lot of rolling world premieres that we have shared with other organizations through NNPN. I'm hoping that it'll happen soon, that somebody will pick up and do it soon, but there's not a whole lot of that I can do about it,
right,
besides trying to pitch it and trying to, let them know how wonderful it is, and sending people their script and that kind of stuff. But if they don't pick up on it, there's nothing I can do.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that's pretty competitive considering the number of theaters in the organization. And
I would say too that with Jonathan's play, like it getting selected for, that was what was so great about the cross-pollination project, was that this organization who had heard of Jonathan actually now more actively seeks out his plays, and both them and Cleveland Public, that was our third partner in that exchange. I feel like what it did was take somebody who's really big in our market, maybe not as big in their market, and give them a meaningful interaction with artistic leadership. So the hope is down the line that, and I think that program, that's something that cross-pollination pilot program, that's something that the NNPN is very interested in continuing, especially once COVID is over, because obviously right now nobody can go visit anyone. I found it really great as an artistic leader also for me too, to be in and watching them work on a play and figuring out like, oh, that's interesting how you approach a new play. We to Chris, as Chris said, we push everything we've got all the time. I think sometimes it's convincing people that it's not just Texas specific. We often fight against, that people think Texas, I don't know what it is, but you got to fight against that stereotype that we can't produce anything interesting, or that it's all going to be Texas centric. I don't know, like, not to sound sassy, but it's true. And we're any day now, I think it's going to happen. We did have some luck with Allison Moore, who was a company member that
sure, right,
did have a rolling premiere, and she was from SMU and was locally based for a while, and then she, got hot and went to California. But Hazard County, End Times, Collapse, those were all roles and got very close in other processes, commission and things like that. But I think especially as we develop this commission program, and I forgot to say this point, which is that 2 of the slots will be local writers, is that, we'll deepen these relationships with some local folks and really be able to have something that, especially if it's created in thinking of this in terms of this current moment in different formats, that we can really actively share with NNPN folks who are going to be really aggressively looking for something cool to do, and specifically by writers of color. So my hope is this will help actually accelerate that process and get the word out on some writers that need some attention.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine that this whole process has been great for everyone, but the playwright, if they're able to go and see all of these productions, like, I don't know, did Audrey go see all of the Alabaster productions?
Almost
yeah.
all of them.
And there were a lot of them.
Her own dime too. Like, she paid because she just wanted to see them, and she had a patron from the original production in Florida that actually paid her, like, I think helped pay her way to go to some of them, and that patron also saw almost all of the shows.
Nice.
Half of the, like, I would say 4 of them had to be put on hold because of COVID.
Right.
4 or 5 of them. But up until that point, she'd seen every one. Like, she came and she actually went and spent time with them in rehearsal too. So she was kind of wild. But it was great. I mean, like everybody had different approaches. Everybody had different ideas of what the set would be or the casting would be or what the artwork would look like. That was what was fascinating to me. So I think it was a great experience for her.
Great. All right, so we'll close this out, but Tim, can you give me a shout out, a promo for Get Up, Stand Up?
Sure.
Yay.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do it. Yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting event of people coming together, which I'm very eager to do in a way that's completely safe. And also, you know, certainly I am experiencing a certain amount of tension as we're headed into this election. And so I'm eager for it as a way to sort of vent some of that and put some of that energy somewhere positive and hopefully engaging and exciting. So come down.
Yeah, have you, and do you guys, another question on that, do you have some performers in mind? Are you holding, you know, like auditions for or pitches, submissions?
Yeah, we did an open call and people just had to submit their a video. The other thing we're doing in hopes of kind of creating an event that is pulling from a lot, sort of expressing the entirety of the Dallas community is we're not curating the event necessarily. So we invited artists to submit their selections. So I'm hoping we'll have everything from, you know, Fuck the Police to Bob Dylan and, you know, probably a bunch of work, hopefully a lot of work I've never heard before. So I'm really hoping that the artists coming together are going to create a really interesting mixed bag of performance. So
Is, maybe I missed something, I'm looking at the press release now. So is the idea that they're going to be performing existing songs, or can they do original work as well?
we've asked if they do existing work. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, and there's a lot there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, anybody have anything else to add?
No, I'm just really proud of the Dallas community. I mean, I just want to say that, you know, everybody's been able to stick it out and really be creative. And I think, you know, there's been lots of online meetings between a lot of organizations, and we've had a lot of side conversations and texts, and everybody, you know, for me, it warms my heart to know that, like, I can reach out to somebody in Fort Worth and they can reach out, you know, I can reach out to Imprint and say, hey, or Firehouse, and be like, hey, will you post this release? Like, we're all in it together. And that, to me, is what is super exciting and why we continue to want to be part of this community, why we've been part of this community for 30 years, because I really do feel like it is a family, and I feel like we've got hella great talent and so supportive of each other. Like, I don't know anybody who's like, oh, I can't wait to see what kind of crap review, or I hope this production fails. Like, I don't know anybody who's on that, you know, kind of vibe. Like, everybody, especially now in this current time when everybody is stretched to the max and contingency plans on contingency plans, just the level of support and love and concern for each other is, it seems like more than any other industry, like, is amazing to me. So
Right.
I'm really proud of that. Right. Yay, Dallas.
Yay.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much for your time.